Hey guys, it's Onelsi and welcome to my channel. So today's video I will be talking about my wedding, how I started my wedding planning process and my vision, and how it ultimately turned into my wedding day. If you are interested in any of that, or if you're planning or recently engaged, please keep watching. Hopefully this helps you in finding out how you would like your wedding day to be like. So first, the wedding planning. I have my notes right here, so I'm just going to read from here. So at first I didn't really know what I wanted my wedding day to look like. I didn't have a vision. You know, I didn't really dream of how my wedding day would be like. It's really funny because I've been with my now husband for more than 6 years, and I never had that thought of what our wedding day would be or anything like that. I knew we would be married, and I really wanted to be engaged, but I just had no plan, no vision, nothing. So a tip to all of my future brides, or if you're wanting to be engaged, have a plan, have a vision, have something in mind. So a few platforms or apps or websites that I used to plan my wedding were Zola, Wedding Wire, and The Knot. I used these to stay on track. They have, you know, like that checklist for up until the date. So also have a date once you are engaged and you've celebrated, and if there's a specific date or time that you're looking for, these apps are really great to be able to track that. They also have pages where you can see other brides or couples looking for some inspiration or encouragement or advice. At the end of our engagement, like 2 weeks, a couple days before the wedding, I just had some questions just on anything, and people were willing to answer. So I think that's really great that we could be able to do that, even if it's last minute things or some things that I could be forgetting, and maybe someone could help me out in that aspect. So the main app that I used was Zola. I used Zola for my wedding website, and it was really great because I was able to use that to track RSVPs, the guests, give our guests some wedding details that they may need, directions, the address, and all that, as well as like attire, what time they should be there. And then we also shared a little bit of our story, and it was great. It was fun to be able to see, work from what I didn't know what I wanted to, work from there. So another app that I used for inspiration was Pinterest. Pinterest was really a good app to be able to find inspiration and ideas, DIY color schemes, or even like now those little short videos where people will list like wedding photo ideas or wedding favor ideas. Just tons and tons of ideas that you can get like fast and really figure out what you're really looking for. So if you're interested, go check out my Pinterest. I'm gonna be sharing some ideas, some photos. It'll be there, linked down below or here. And I've been sharing some stuff during the engagements. You know, we took our trip, and then some wedding stuff that I've gathered, DIY stuff. So check it out. So a little bit about the venue for our wedding. Once I started figuring out and researching and really determining what my vision was, what I wanted, I started looking for venues. I wanted something that was going to be outside and then also inside. My tip for anyone is, if you do want something specific, whether that's the date or the venue or the occasion, just, you know, specific things, really start looking into it right away and booking if you can. I think the only thing that I knew that I wanted for the wedding was the dates. I wanted a June wedding. That's just something I was just focused on. We got engaged in August 2021, so I had less than a year if I wanted to do it. June 2022, we had less than a year to plan and get everything ready for our wedding day. A good tip would be to know when, have like specific dates. If you do want it in a month, in a specific month, have some good dates, the days, to start looking for venues, because venues book like fast, months and months in advance, even years in advance. So really knowing when you want to have the wedding is a good thing. Another good tip would be to know how many people exactly, or a range of people that you want as your guests, including vendors, you know, people that, the photographers, if you're having makeup artists, if they're gonna stay or not, or if they're gonna just be there when you're getting ready and then they'll leave. So knowing these type of things is really important, just knowing how many people will be there that day. So once I inquired where our wedding was held, I inquired where Stanley proposed to me in Grounds for Sculpture in August 2021. That's where he proposed, that's when he proposed, and I didn't think of inquiring right away in that specific area. It was our first time even being there. So the venue for the ceremony and the reception was at Grounds for Sculpture in Hamilton, New Jersey. The specific area where the ceremony took place is called the Nine Muses. There's 2 locations for a ceremony, and we chose the Nine Muses. I know that the amphitheater, if you've ever been or you know anything about it, is another option for a ceremony. The first time we went, it was beautiful, but since it was our first time, we were just looking around and seeing. Once I realized that the Nine Muses was the specific place for the ceremony, I was just like, yes, like it's such a good place to have the ceremony, and it's beautiful. It was beautiful. And the reception was held at Rat's Restaurant. So this is all on the same grounds, just walking distance, and I'll get more into the details in a bit. So when I figured out what some DIY or some specific things that I wanted was a wedding sign, and I was going to DIY it, I asked if they had an easel. So I did ask if they had one, and they did. They offered to provide that for us. The staff that was helping, she asked if we had the wedding sign so she could take it, and they had the easel up already. They were willing to help, which was amazing. Another thing that was included in our package were golf carts. I think it was such a great thing to be able to use that, since the grounds is large. I don't know how many acres it is, but it's a lot. The distance between our bridal suite, which we did have a bridal suite on location by the Rat's Restaurant, it was great to know that once we were ready, or such as like our grandparents or anyone that was older couldn't walk that much distance, just having that golf cart option for our guests, or for us with the photographers, having that option to take our guests to the ceremony location was amazing. It was such a good idea to have that. So another thing about like the whole golf cart, you know how like when people have that dream of like, and they're riding up to their wedding and they're on like a horse carriage or something like that to their wedding. I've never had something like that. I never thought that I would do something like that, but that's what it felt like. We were in the back, and I'll show some photos. We were in the back of the golf cart, and I just felt like a princess. Like, I don't know, it was just so weird, like just driving around in it with my almost husband, riding around, and there were people that were like would stop and look at us and congratulate us. So it was an amazing experience. So yeah, another thing about the venue, since we were trying to determine how many guests, we said 50 to 60 guests at first, and then we were also inquiring for Saturday, June 18th, not really knowing that Saturdays are the most expensive out of any of the days. So that's another tip. If you're not willing to, if you don't want to spend as much, maybe pick a day that isn't going to be as expensive, say a Thursday, a Friday. We chose a Sunday, June 19th, and it didn't come out as expensive as it would have been if we chose Saturday. So yeah, with the wedding, I am very happy with how things turned out. I really just planned how things were going to be. So say with the photographer, I had like basically a timeline from the time they got there. By the time we were there, we were already dressed. I had already done my makeup, my hair in a way. I was just gonna do like finishing touches. Stanley got dressed, I got dressed, we had our first look, and we had 2 spots for the photos for the first look, so it was going to be done before the ceremony. And around that time was like our family you know, my bridesmaids were helping like set up the restaurant, the reception. So I thank them for that, because even though every decor item like was done, basically it had to be set up on like the tables, and I loved it. I mean, I loved how I just told them exactly what I wanted. I did centerpieces. If you're interested in that, like I said, and on Pinterest I showed like how the centerpieces look for each table. There weren't that many tables either. It was just like 6 tables, and then our table was just the sweetheart table, and then 2 other tables for like the envelope box and the wedding favors, the guest book. And so yeah, it wasn't really like a big space, but it was a good space for just the 50 guests. Exactly, that was us. So it was 50 guests, was including us, was including the photographer, the DJ, and all that. So keep that in mind when you're inquiring about venues. Does it include you guys? Does it include the other vendors, caterers, all that, etc.? So just inquire about that. We were fine with saying yeah, we're included. The ceremony was supposed to start at 5, and we were ready. We were just taking pictures, waiting for guests to arrive. So once they got there, we lined up to go, and they had chosen to take us all to the golf cart. So there were 2 golf carts, so say like 3 people could in each golf cart can go. There weren't that many of us in the bridal party, including our parents. We just went, and Stanley and I, we were the last to go. Some people were still arriving, like some of our guests were still arriving. And the funny thing is, one of the staff that were, you know, helping us, she had asked like, do you mind waiting here? And because there was like a private entrance, and that's the only way our guests and us could walk through, like no one else visiting the grounds could go through that way. And so she said if I minded, like if we waited there, because say there is more guests coming, they'll see us, they'll see me in my dress, you know, that it'll take away in that, you know, whole wedding thing. But I said, you know what, I don't care, like I want to just get on with the day. And it happened. There were some people that did arrive a little bit later and did see us, and we just did hi to them and stuff, and they headed on their way. Things started late. I said at 5, we started at 5:20. We were lined up already, and you know, again, the staff was like, should we start? Like, I'm not sure if everyone is here and stuff. So yeah, she had asked if we should start. I said yes, let's just start, because we're not gonna wait any longer. We had reserved that area for 1 hour, and it was like 5:20. You know, we had tried to do a rehearsal with an officiant. The whole officiant story, the whole issue with what we had with that going on is a story in itself. But I loved our officiant. She was amazing. Even though once we, you know, booked with her to do our wedding, we didn't rehearse with her, but the way she just made everything, it was as if she knew us for years and years and knew us, like our relationship and our story and our families. It was just, she was amazing, and I could not applaud her enough. I mean, it was amazing. Like, once we spoke to her on the phone, by the time she gave us our ceremony, like the draft, it's as if she knew us. It was so crazy, but I loved it. The ceremony just turned out to be amazing. I chose to do the wedding vows first, and then he would go after. I just knew if he did it first, I would cry, so I went first. Everything else, we exchanged rings, we kissed, they pronounced us. It was just beautiful. I loved how our wedding day looked. The weather was beautiful. One of the tips that when I was researching other YouTubers and their wedding experiences, a tip I heard was just don't look at the weather if you're having an outside wedding, just because you don't want to be let down. One thing I know for sure is that we had a plan B with the venue. They had a museum there, so if it did rain or if it was muddy or anything like that, we would do it inside. But the day was beautiful. Friday before that, it was very, very hot. There was a wedding going on that day. This is the staff, what they would tell me. It was very, very hot. The day after, Saturday, It was just cloudy. It was not a nice day to take pictures, but it wasn't that bad. And then Sunday, the day of our wedding, it was beautiful. The sun was shining, but it wasn't too hot. It was kind of cloudy, but then the sun would peek through. It was just like perfect. I loved it. And then the staff would say like we're blessed because they turned out to be really nice. So I'm very happy with how the wedding turned out. My advice is just don't look at the weather prior to your wedding day unless you have a plan and you know for sure what you would do. And yeah, I just didn't check, but my fiance would check. So just be like, don't tell me, I don't need to know, it's okay. But yeah, ultimately it showed that it was going to be a nice day, so I was very happy about that. Picking the color scheme wasn't too hard. I knew I wanted like a blue or a green or something. I didn't want something too bright or too crazy. Initially the color, and I don't want to say it was gonna be teal, but that's what it was looking like. And I was debating on whether like a beige or a gray, so I was like playing around with those colors. And my sister, the youngest, who was a bridesmaid, did not like the teal color, and I understand why, because it seemed too bright. But in my head it was like a mix of blue and green, which is like my husband and I's favorite color, so that's what I was really planning on. But then I found this really great color when I was looking at bridesmaids dresses, and the dress I found was called like steel blue, I believe. So it was more like a dusty blue. It was a little bit darker, and I could play around with that color and see. It doesn't have to be just specifically that color. I can branch off into other colors, and I decided on the gray with that blue color, and then from there worked with what I wanted, such as DIY decor, the flowers. Everything was, we didn't use real flowers, we used Link's Moments. I decided to use that for the bouquets. My bridesmaids and I, we made our bouquets together. I just purchased like 6 boxes worth of Link's Moments, and it was more than enough for the centerpieces, the bouquets, the just little details on like the flower baskets, and anything like else. I just used that. And initially I wanted like 2 vases on each side of where the altar would be in 9 muses. But getting closer and closer to the wedding, I just realized, I'm like, who's gonna put it there? Are they gonna take it back? These were just things that I was trying to like figure out, and at the end of the day I didn't do that. I'm like, the place in itself is beautiful. Some people do that like beautiful art, some people have a bunch of flowers. I didn't. I just decided that's not what I want. I just want it to be just like simple. Where's the decor? I mean, we have the beautiful bridesmaids, we have me, we have flowers laying up, I mean, and then it's a beautiful day, hoping all the best. So I just left it at that. We used those flowers to make our bouquet. I kept mine. I made a mini bouquet to toss. Didn't even end up doing that because it was getting late. We still had wedding games and stuff, but it was great. It was knowing that I could save these things and cherish them. And again, I have that Pinterest video if you want to see how those things turned out, and I'll include some clips of certain things. I'll probably do a decor video mainly focusing on like invites, some things that I thrifted, the sign, anything else that I haven't mentioned. But yeah, I'll make another video on that just because it was a lot. And yeah, that's really it. I mean, anything else, if you guys are interested, let me know. I don't know if I should talk more about like the wedding dress. I loved it. It was the first dress I tried on, and I felt so good in it. I'm like, this is the one, but I have like 4 or 5 more dresses to try on, so let me just try those on. But I know this is the one, like this is the dress. So the first time I went wedding dress shopping was the time I said yes to the dress. I was very happy. I'm very happy with how the photos came out. Our wedding day was beautiful. I love how the wedding turned out. There aren't that many things that I regret. I know some people have regrets and investments and good things and bad things. Ultimately, our wedding was beautiful. I love it. I don't want to say it was perfect because nothing is, but I'm completely happy with how everything turned out. All of my stress and my hard work, you know, all my energy that went into planning this really paid off. I was very calm and very happy with how everything turned out, and at the end of the night when we took our sunset photos, I just felt like, okay, let me just embrace my now husband and take some great pics and just enjoy the night. I was very happy with how things turned out. If you're interested, follow my socials so you can see more about me, and if there's anything you guys would like to watch, please let me know. Like and subscribe. Comment down below if you are a bride-to-be, if you're planning a wedding. Let me know if you have any questions. I was in your spots not too long ago, and I'm very happy with how my wedding turned out. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.